We will also be having the memorial for Fred Saluga at this time. If anyone would like to say a couple words, who would like to go first? Come on up, Raymond. This is Raymond Keller. If you don't already know him, he is one of our friends and researchers who did a lot of books with Fred. And I remember a long time ago, Fred Saluga asked me to help him write some books, but I have one of the most demanding schedules I've ever seen. So, and I'm usually in 3 different states each week. So it's hard for me to sit down and work with people so personally. But I'm very happy that he did find Raymond and work with him. I did also want to mention that Fred Saluga, I'm so honored that he let me do the introduction to a UFO and law enforcement book between Raymond Keller and Mr. Saluga. So Raymond, if you wanted to go ahead and it's up to you. If you want to sit up here and I don't want you to have to stand. Yeah, if you want to come on up. I've known Raymond Keller for a very long time. People don't know that, but I'm so
Thank you, Christine.
You're welcome.
And thank you all the panelists and attendees. Thank you for coming here today and organizing this splendid event. I first met Fred back in 2015 at a meeting in Butler, PA. And it was just about 4 years ago that we started working on books together, and this is one of them. I have several of the books back there at the table. Fred and I had a lot of fun traveling. We went as far as Canada. I remember on that trip we were coming up through Michigan to cross over at Sault Ste. Marie. And on the way over there, we were really excited because on the right side of the road on top of this hill, we saw what appeared to be a Bigfoot. And we were very excited, but somebody was just putting up this big giant cardboard model. And so that was pretty funny. And well, we went up there and we were visiting with James Borg and the Euphoria Chronicles. And Fred had more mobility than me, and he was really brave to go out in the woods. And he and James found a real Bigfoot nest back there, and he took some pictures of it and everything. I don't know if he posted them. But it was such a great honor to work with Fred. I really don't know what on earth he saw in me, as why asked me to co-write books with him. But it was a great honor, one of the greatest privileges in my life. And I know that Fred is with us, he's watching us, and been paying close attention to this meeting from the other side of the veil. And I know he's now with the angels. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Raymond.
Fred was a good mentor for all of us, especially people who've known him most. Boy, we owe him a debt of gratitude, really do. Wouldn't be here without him. And before I go, I could say a lot more, but I'm not. So, Fred had a story he always wanted told, and I'm going to try to say it in Fred's terms, how he said it. So he said, when I die, I'm going to go up. And there's going to be a ship. I'm going to go into this room. There's going to be a table and some chairs. In walks a Greg. Sits down. In walks a Bigfoot, sits down. In walks a Mothman, sits down. In floats a ghost, he just floats there.
I love that part the most.
The alien with 2 out of his 3 fingers goes, Fred, you were this close. That's it.
So I just want to say the first time that Jenny and I met Fred, we were on a camping trip, and Fred was very loud in the morning, and he drove in and he was playing the Everly Brothers, and he had this long story about how women love that song. It was Unchained Melody, but Fred was just so funny, and Jenny and I, he was very endearing to us, and I remember we were somewhere, and people think that I made up the What the Fred, but Fred made that up. Fred was talking to Jenny, and he's like, "What the Fred?" And we thought that was super cute. But Fred was one of those people that just unabashedly told you exactly what he thought. And he was kind of an equalizer in the field. And we call him the John Wayne of the Bigfoot field. Sometimes Clint Eastwood, sometimes who else? But Fred had a lot of character, and that's what made him so endearing to a lot of people. And he really was a person that sought the truth. And his background was he was a detective, and I think that that's pretty amazing that he was in this field doing the work that he's doing, and interviewing people with Bigfoot, UFOs, all of it. So he might have been a joke in his community where he worked, but he was never a joke with us. Fred was 100% sincere, sweet man.
I don't know if I can do this or not because my
We can
dad.
switch to Steve if you want.
No, it's okay.
Okay,
It's okay.
okay.
My dad passed away not that long ago. Fred was family to me. He went first before my dad, but it was hard because not both of them were gone. I'm sorry. I love you, Fred. I love you.
We're gonna go to Steve real quick. I know Steve didn't know him too well, but Steve always can brighten us up with some humor.
Can I go ahead and ask if Steve wants to say?
You gotta say it, Brian.
Steve, do you have a few words to say about Fred?
I didn't know Fred well, but he always treated me very well. And he, in one of our expeditions, he gave me a Bigfoot cast, a footprint. And I'd like to say I could put my hands on it right now, but it's somewhere in my basement, which is less organized than the warehouse at the end of Indiana Jones, the Raiders of the Lost Ark. But yeah, he was. And what was so much fun is to watch him go back and forth with Bruce Harrington. Oh, good Lord. That was entertaining. And it's too bad those incidents are not on YouTube somewhere.
Thank you so much, Steve. I first saw Fred in 2016, the same event that I saw Brian Seech. I did not know them at that time, so I met Fred about 2017. And, he was always an interesting character. As we know, he's feisty Fred. So, everybody knew him. And what he did for a lot of us was, give a lot of opportunities. There were times where he asked us if we wanted to speak at events. I had taken kind of a time off from doing public speaking. I did these panels, 13 years ago. I took some time off from that. I did PI talks. And then when we, whenever I met him, he's the one that kind of started getting a lot of us into doing these presentations. And also gave the opportunity to do a MUFON presentation at one of their events. And, I'm ever so grateful for that. There were times where Fred would be mad at you. I've said this before. He'd be mad at you, and then, a month later, it's okay. He was feisty, and he might call me and say, "Christine, what's up with this question on the panel?" And I'd be annoyed, but I'd be still love him, but and then he would complain about someone, and then, or he'd say, "Why didn't you call me back in time?" I'm I'm driving through so many states. But I miss him because he was the person that if I had to complain about something, I would be like, "Hey, Fred." And vice versa. We'll go ahead, Robert.
So there's 2 people that I credit with me being here today. One of those is Bob Schultz. The other is Fred Saluga. Without those 2, I wouldn't be doing this. I remember talking to Fred And he was the most curmudgeonly old dude I've ever met. And I love that about him, because he was a real person. He didn't put on any airs. He was who he was, and I highly respect that. And I was just taught, I said, man, I'd love to speak. I love to do what they do. And this was at the Butler conference. Kathleen, you were there. That was that same one. And lo and behold, he made it happen. He said, "You want to speak?" I said, "I've always wanted to speak. I love to talk. That's what I do best." But he said, "Do you want to do that?" I said, "Yes." And every chance I saw him, he always had a new question for me about giants. Always. Because he was like, you're one of the few people I know that are big into this, that research this, that have put the effort and the time. I was throwing up articles that he had never seen, that a lot of people didn't know about at these presentations, and he would always come up to me and say, hey, he would start adding little things to the conversation to me to get my brain moving in a different direction from what I was thinking. And I don't know him like a lot of you do. I know him as, and it hurts me a little bit because I'll never get to know who he was as a whole, because I live so far away from most of you. I live a solid 2.5 hours away. But Fred gave me that opportunity, and I'll always owe him for the rest of my life for that. He helped me to fulfill a dream I had always had, talking to people about stuff I love. And for that, I will always be for the rest of my life and beyond when I see him in the next life, eternally grateful to a man who helped me achieve a dream. So God bless you, Fred, and I'll see you when we get there. I'll see you when I get there.
All right, did anybody else? Robert Kalil, I know you had a very close, also, and Terry and Aurora, everybody.
I mean, you want me just to say something from here?
Okay, hold on just 1 second. Did you want to come up to a microphone?
Yeah, sure.
Did you want to come up too? You could come on this side.
I really valued Fred so much as a friend and a mentor. Sam was also a part of our UFO group. We were part of a monthly UFO group, and Fred would be there every month cracking jokes, and he was the life of the meeting. And honestly, since he's been gone, the meeting honestly hasn't been the same. I mean, I love all the people there, but it's just not the same without Fred. And then also, I've been involved in 3 of these conferences with Christine. I was a panelist at one, and I helped live stream the other ones, and Fred was the same life of the party here. And I'll never forget the time him and Jimmy got into an argument, and we all started laughing. So, I mean, he was just like that. You know what I mean? You never knew what Fred was going to say, and he was just an amazing person. And I can't speak highly enough about him, honestly.
Okay.
He's been here all day. He's hounding me to talk, so I have to talk. He's not going to, or he's not going to let me alone. First of all, Fred said, "You did a good job, Brian." He's saying that everybody did a good job. You guys made a lot of good points, and he's very proud of it. He wants to thank everyone for remembering him and saying his name, like with Fred. And he's proud of all of you. And he's saying, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Fred.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Fred. Merry Christmas.
Christine, I was Fred's investigation partner, and we had gone in 2021. We had to go up to the New York border to do an investigation of a UFO sighting, and on the way back, we stopped at the Kinzu Bridge, where there had been an episode on the Bigfoot hunters. They came to Kinzu to do an episode. So I said, Fred, let's swing by there. I took a picture of him on the end of the bridge. I don't know how we could transfer that to put it on the screen, but we took a picture of him on the bridge, on the end of the bridge, and just over his shoulder is the location of where the Bigfoot sighting occurred. And I was asking if anybody could enable us to put it on the screen.
I'm not quite sure. Do you think that can be added in on the live stream? Because
Or something.
yeah, that could be like a third. Or just be like a third box on it.
There are two pictures, one of him at the end of the bridge, and the other is, I took a picture over the end of the bridge, down about 300 feet to the ground, where the Bigfoot sighting had occurred, and it was spotlighted on national television, and that was a nice incident for Fred and I to do that. But he would also scream at me about chewing ice.
I probably would have too, I'm sorry, or like, especially because sometimes people chew really loud, like. I told, when I went to see Fred in the hospital, I told him, I said, you cannot leave, you're the only other PI in this community that I know, so he probably was like, what's she talking about?
I'll say something earlier. He passed in his sleep. I left the hospital, Brian, you know this, I left the hospital that day at about 12:45, and Leah called me at about 12:25, 12:30, and she said that he had died in his sleep. She wanted to wake him up before I went, and I said no.
She said 1:03, I think, was what she
Anyway,
Thank you so much.
that's all I got.
Anybody else? All right, well, that concludes our panel. Everybody, thank you so much for coming, and make sure you stop over and see what people have to offer. Thank you.
Thank you.